One of the things I remember from when I was very young, relatively, that established in me the power of the written word is a class I took in high school. Our teacher was incredible. She actually has her own fan club on Facebook. One of her main assignments was that we had a journal, and we would go back and forth with her. And I would reflect on the courses we were taking and the books I was reading. That journal was probably one of the key moments in my life where I felt like I was getting close to the essence of life. Conversation between humans is something that has been a driving force for me in my life. That journal, that teacher, that experience made me feel I am a human being walking on this earth, and I have all the magic, and it's a matter of going out there and grabbing it and thinking it and writing it and reading it. Today we are at the Moonshine Inc. World Headquarters. We're in the head honcho, but it's sweet right here. We get to overlook the Truckee River, and it's in an old house in downtown Truckee. At the root, what I'm hoping that people get from Moonshine is a sense of their community and to know in depth about the issues and the assets of what we have in our community. This isn't as sexy or as fun for a lot of people, but I really do think that knowing is half the battle. That old G.I. Joe marketing slogan, but it's so important. I think to be a part of the community is knowing your community. And once you know about your community, you can't help but be engaged. My job is multifaceted. I wear many, many hats, but in relation to the meat of it, the written word, it's tracking. It's tracking what stories we want to tell. There are stories everywhere. I am one of the editors in our team of editors. Writers will tell you that you're probably only as good as your editor, and I think there's a lot of truth to that, but an editor is only as good as a writer. For our staff, to inspire them to write well, I have found that you have to inspire them to be passionate about what they're writing about. And to do that, what I encourage any writer for Moonshine to do is to do your research, do some preliminary thinking, and then find that thread that just calls to you and take that thread and follow it. Well, the important part of editing, I think, for any writer is for someone to take what you've written and to look at the flow and to figure out, are you grabbing the reader's interest? And I also think that there's an element of tell them why this story is special. This is not going to be a story that's anywhere else. Moonshine Inc., the name came from my original co-founder up there on the wall. We both were brainstorming on names for a newspaper, and we originally, when we started, we wanted it to be sort of this underground paper that you might find in a coffee bar, restroom, that you just don't know where it came from. So it was going to be like a staple 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper. And so Moonshine had that connotation. It had that, from the basement. And then also moon is very important. The beauty of the moon. You're up on the granite rocks and you watch the moon just bathe the landscape. There's such magic in that. That also was a metaphor that we wanted to convey with our name, that there's Moonshine Inc., a source of illumination for our community. Moonshine Inc. has been on local Tahoe Truckee streets since 2002. And one of the things I'm most proud of the paper is that it is still independent. It is so key in our world today to be separated from being beholden to corporate interests or other big companies that are not from here, that are not of here, and making decisions for you as a newspaper. Independence is basically the only way you can do the job that journalism is slated to do. There is an organization called the California Independent Newspaper Association that was recently founded. The woman who started it is a newspaper publisher down in Ojai, and on her own she has kind of taken a survey of independent papers in the state of California, and she has found there are only 200-ish independent newspapers left in the state. If you think about how many cities and towns that are in the state of California incorporated, there's about 400 to 500. By a general count, there's somewhere in the range of 1,000. So we're looking at most likely less than 10% of communities have an independent voice. When we have an independent voice in the community, it allows us to connect to each other, and people help each other because they know each other, and critical local decisions are made on a local level. And without that, you end up with a disengaged citizen, people who aren't informed about what's going on in their And one of the challenging parts of our work at Moonshine Inc. is that in our coverage area, we have 2 states, 4 counties, at least somewhere in the range of 19 to 20 special districts, and then not counting other agencies. What that means is that we are attempting to cover in the neighborhood of 30 jurisdictions. There is so much that is going on in each jurisdiction. The idea of being able to cover each one thoroughly is mind-boggling. But I do think that one of the things that we do at Moonshine is we try to pinpoint what's most important for our readers to know now. And anything you do in life, but in writing. I feel that if you don't have the imagination to truly see a story that hasn't been done yet, then you will not pick up that story. If you don't have a commitment to sit there and stare at that blinking cursor, then you'll never get that story down. And then the fearlessness comes very strong, especially in our field, I would say, for journalism. The fearlessness to be able to write about hard topics and put it out there when you're in a small community. Outside of work, I don't write enough, and I do feel as if there's a story inside of me that's going to come out at some point. Probably the most writing I do is my messages to my loved ones on birthdays and special occasions. And recently a friend of mine sent me this stack of cards that I'd sent over to her over a period of 20 years. She had just kept them and reread them often. One of the key things I think to writing those special messages is the pen. If you put me into a paper and pen store, you could leave me there for days. I have certain pens that just make me very much enjoy the process of writing it. And I do have a lot of people say that my actual handwriting is just incredible. They love it. In this world of emails and digital communications and our phones, I actually spend a lot of time on that handwritten side of life. Writing with the pen is slower, more contemplative. You consider your word before you put it down because there is no backspace. And I don't use whiteout. That seems a little crass on a card to get to somebody. At work, words are obviously our commodity that we exchange with the community. And so words are the way that we help our community know itself, know its triumphs, know its trials, know its tragedies. All of it is important. One thing that Moonshine has always prioritized is quality writing, making sure that we honor and respect the power of words. Don't just try to shove stuff out. I think also a key part of words for us at Moonshine is storytelling. Stories are truly what make us human. I read a quote recently from, I think a fellow author that wrote that perhaps storytelling is more important in our evolution than opposable thumbs. Thumbs allow us to hang on to stuff, but stories tell us what to hang on to. That's been our driving mission. Tell the stories of our community. Make it so that those stories are held in a container, in a safe space.